Alrighty, we're live. Paolo, welcome. Blue Abroad Show. All business tonight, mate. Lots to get through. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, Terry. A very, very good evening to you. It's a very balmy night here in Melbourne. We're braving the warm conditions, but looking forward to this one. It's funny, like the season's sort of just creeping up on us with regards to AFL. There's plenty going on in the AFLW. Even though there's not too much going on with regards to off-field stuff with regards to the AFL boys, there's still a lot to talk about, which is good. So, I mean, we're all going to get involved with it when the actual AFL starts. But, there's still plenty to go over, plenty to mull over.
Yes, absolutely. We've got AFLW to talk about. We've got a lot of AFLW to do. Maybe not a lot, but there's just a bit of emotion with the AFLW. It's sparked my interest with a few things we'll touch on. Another open training session. We've got a few fan questions from out there. We're going to touch on the leadership group. And then we're going to get Pommy in to talk a bit about the train-on players. People want to know a bit about who is being put up for selection for the potential final list spot. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some off-field indiscretions, but then we're going to leave that till the end of the show. It's going to be a bit of a fiery one, I expect. But we're going to run the intro, get straight into it, and go from there.
Going on? Internet!
Martin's been very impressive. Everything he's caught.
I saw the Carlton supporters and I thank you for the love.
Okay, sees the playing glass gun. And there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50. Control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
Okay. Got to thank our members as always. Appreciate your support of the channel. Your contribution allows us to grow as quickly as we possibly can. It allows the algorithm to hit the spots that it needs to, so we can reach more Carlton fans. And funnily enough, more just I'm noticing more AFL fans in general, just non-Carlton supporters. I think everyone wants to be a bit of navy blue, mate. I don't know what it is.
I think they love basking in our demise at the moment at both levels, AFL and AFLW. I reckon they're going to give us a bit of shtick.
We might see a drop in viewership if we actually make finals this year.
I don't know. People love when we lose.
It's true. It is true. We actually just had a new member join up. His name is Louis Arampatsis, and I'm going to make an assumption that he's Greek.
Yes,
and I know that because I am Greek, so I'm able to make such assumptions without getting in trouble. So thanks very much, Louis. Membership for the channel, for those who aren't aware, you basically, if you're on your desktop, it's the best way to do it. Just go to the channel. There's a button that says join, and you can choose your choice of membership. It's really just to support the channel and help grow and build things and, purchase the equipment that we have and grow some more. But thank you for that. Listen, Paolo, mate, we're just going to get straight into it because we're going to start with the AFLW. We were both at the game. Beautiful day for footy. It's actually been a really interesting week because they had a poor loss on the Tuesday. Obviously, a few late outs. How do we start this? Well, let's just start with your synopsis. Like, what happened yesterday?
Well, it was funny because I rocked up to the game and I was there sort of an hour beforehand and watching both teams go through their warm-up rituals before they actually went back in and then came back out. And I was there with a close mate, and I just turned to him and I said, mate, I just watched the warm-up and I said, we can't win. They cannot win. And he goes, what are you talking about? I go, watch the warm-up. I go, watch him. Just half-hearted, no voice. There was no, when you see your team or you see a team and you see a real purpose with what they're doing, even with regards to just training and just drills, there was just no energy, and it was again, and I think the danger signs are there already when, you're within like a goal or two of the opposition, but you just know you can't win. Isn't that just the worst feeling? How horrible is that?
I think because we were at training on the Saturday, watched the men, and I'm going to give them some props because the way that they train, the voice that they use, the energy they have when they train it has definitely taken me aback a bit. I'm noticing it. It's different. There's a different energy about it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there for the warm-up, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Tuesday game, it was a bad loss, a very
Shocking.
poor loss. And then I think throughout the week, obviously when you're coaching, it's tough. This caper is tough.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying otherwise, but there was the clip of Half announcing one of the staff members, she was having a baby, and riding the emotions of that. I found it very interesting, because you've got to find a way to get the group going. And I thought, okay, bit of an emotional pull there, and it's a feel good story. Obviously, Tara's been there for many years, and is a big component of the AFLW program, and has been for some time.
Yeah.
And then to see the way that they played, the way they showed up yesterday, and once the ball was bounced, the start was a bit ugly. I thought at quarter time we probably salvaged a bit and looked like, okay, well, maybe we just withstood the best of North. And then very quickly, as the game kept going, and really the season is really short and the themes come up really quickly, it was very, very disappointing to see the way that they just gave up, I felt.
Yeah. I think we just got worn down really easily on the weekend or yesterday. You could really, I think that the danger signs were there really early with regards to how we couldn't get out of our back half. And it's been such an issue that's plagued the team basically from the get-go this year, really. Just the ability or the inability really to be able to transition from fullback to halfback to the middle to getting a scoring opportunity. There's just I don't see any, when you sort of have an idea of how they're trying to move the ball and what they're trying to do. And I just didn't see it. There were numerous occasions where the girls brought the ball to the construction side pocket.
Yep.
And I was looking up further afield, and it was just all blue and white Guernseys. It was just outnumbered. We were outnumbered 4-0 or 5-1 or 4-1. And whether that's work rate or whether that's players being told, okay, well, we're going to go to this side, and they actually don't end up on that side, or whether it's North Melbourne forcing us out there, it seems to be a plague that is, going through the team at the moment, which is it not being rectified by coaches? Is it not being rectified by leaders? Is it a combination of all of that? They just look, there's no purpose with what they want to go out and try to do. Like there's no handball chains to try and generate run, and it's funny when I think the best goal we kicked was when we were sort of forced to play on because the ball was uncontested and it was a live ball. And I think we got a ball out the back to Darcy Vecchio, who snapped the left-footed goal. And it was not I don't think it was really by design or anything like that. It was more like, okay, well, the ball's live. We've got to run. We've got to go. So I don't think I think tactically we look a little bit lost. And it's been an inept start to the year from everybody. Like the leaders have been nowhere really. Like Vesha, I mean, mate, she hasn't done much, has she? I mean,
No.
She's had to kick goals, isn't she?
Well, I'll be honest. I did something yesterday that I've never done before in a Carlton game ever in my life. I'm 30 years old, and I left before the final siren. And part of the reason was I think the second last goal that North Melbourne kicked in the fourth. Yeah. It was just Laluifi had given up on the chase. Karen Harrington was left to chase 2 or 3 North Melbourne players. They ran it in for goal, and I got up out of my seat and I left. And I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience for the women. No. I don't. And the reason why I say that is I left that ground yesterday, and this is just me being dead honest. I left the ground yesterday saying to myself, it's not about football.
No, it's not.
Or it might be about football. It's not about winning a premiership.
Nah.
It's definitely not about winning a premiership. It's about giving people a go, which is great. It's about my perception of what I've seen this season so far is, the program is more focused on being game changers and providing a platform for women to play footy, which I thought we had already done that, and giving a platform for these issues that are very important in society. But I want to see him win a flag. And I left that ground feeling like they're so far off the pace. And you look at 18 months ago where we're in a prelim, we're feeling a little sorry for ourselves because we felt like we might have won the premiership that year. And really, it's imploded. And it seems to have been swept under the carpet. And we're in year 6 of a brand new competition. And lo and behold, the Carlton Football Club is in a rebuild.
Correct. It's a carbon copy of the men's team, isn't it? We've got all these draft picks in and all these young players in, and all these other players have left for some unbeknownst reason that we kind of have an idea about. Like, I mean, a lot of people and a lot of the rumours around the place prior to this year beginning and into the preseason of this year was that the culture at the club was terrible. A lot of the management and a lot of the decision making from top down has been horrendous, and that's what's transpired. You know, we don't. And I always tell you this, and I tell everybody that I go to the games is we don't need to know people inside the club or talk to people inside the club to know what's happening. On field is a chasm and a byproduct of what's happening inside the club. If there are people who are giving up chases and look like they don't care on the field, you can almost be guaranteed that is what's going on off the field as well. And the standards are set, you know, behind closed doors where we don't see them, and then we get to see them on game day. And I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head saying that. Are we about footy, or is that the highest priority for this AFLW program at the moment? I'm sure for certain people it is, but I don't think the majority are reaching that, going up towards that arc or that pinnacle of trying to aim to win a premiership, which is it's really frustrating, mate. You know, I mean, and it's hard for us as supporters too to see, you know, I mean, we're struggling to get the men's team right. And now we're trying to get a second team right. I mean, it's just, you know, it looks under-resourced at the moment. And you look at some of the coaches down, you know, some of the line coaches we've got there, and you think like, geez, like, what are your credentials? What are you bringing to the table to make these girls better footballers? I don't see it at the moment.
Yeah. And the frustrating thing is, let's be honest, it's a league that comes under a lot of criticism. It's a lot of people don't want to watch the AFLW for various reasons, and they criticize it and the skills and all of that. And the last 7 days, or from Tuesday through to Sunday, those people have been absolutely spot on. And the lack of care factor for the little things seemed to be really evident. And to take a leaf out of Rocco's book, I watched a team that's not playing with any purpose, not playing for a coach. And a team that, and when you look at structure, what is structure? Well, structure is what happens when you're under pressure, you resort to it. I think Greg made a good comment here. He was watching the watch along and he said it's see ball, get ball, kick ball, no thought process at all. And I could not summarize it better than that.
That's a perfect way to summarize it. Very, very simple, but sometimes you've got to strip it back and analyze it you know, in such a simplistic manner, because how many times did you see us get the ball at half back or in the back pocket, just blaze away? You can't, I mean, there's no method to the madness. And like, I would be happy for them to take the game on and try to string a few handballs together and just try to generate run that way. Like, at least take the bloody game on. You know, I hate losing that way by giving the opposition the chance to dominate the game in their front half because you haven't decided to take the game on because it may seem too hard or you're scared of the turnover.
Which is what I feel like we're going to start seeing now, because we're in this quote unquote hole. The season is really slipping away. It's a 10-game season. I mean, you just can't afford to have so many lapses like this. This isn't even a lapse. I think I'm worried that it's going to get worse before it gets better, if I'm dead honest. And then all of a sudden, you know, we've got all these names that we rate highly, like Kez, super captain, super player, carries herself with such integrity and in the way that you want a player and a leader to. We know Mate Prespakis is a gun. Moody is, if she's not the best ruck in the league, then I don't know who is. Vesio, leading goal kicker from last year. I mean, we bring in Elise O'Day, and this is the other point. There's a few things that irked me that really came to fruition for me yesterday. There were three of them. Number one, God knows why Maddie Gearin was dropped, and God knows why Elise O'Day wasn't dropped, because we haven't really got enough from Elise O'Day from a leadership point of view on the field, in my opinion. Gearin provides that run and spark. She wants to run and carry. She wants to kick long. She wants to get in the action. I left the ground. I checked the socials. Lo and behold, there's the photo and the video. Darcy Vesio kicks their first goal of the season wearing the pride jumper. Great. Beautiful photo. Great photo. Angle was perfect. Lighting. They really edited it well. Down by 24 points. Don't care. I don't care. I don't care that our best player, our marquee player, has kicked their first goal of the season wearing the pride jumper. I don't care for that when we're playing the game. I care for the individuality. I care for the comfort. I care for the expression. I love it. And that's what I love about the program. But when I go to watch a game of football, I'm there to watch the team win, or at least try and win.
It's three words, mate. Read the room, yeah. Like, I mean, I'd prefer them just to shut up shop and just say, look, it was a bad day, blah blah blah. It's not good enough. Like Maddie Guerin, I think the knock on her last year was her ability to defend. So maybe that was probably a reason, because we got wiped last week. I mean, it was pretty ugly. And then, the 5-day backup and travel and, whatever, good clubs don't make excuses. Yeah. But there's an interesting question on Twitter as well from, he's a big fan of the show too. And he does some good work on Twitter. Adrian Gisara or Gisara. Yes. I think it's Adrian Gisara. Yeah. He said, what the hell happened with the AFLW team at the end of the year? We've gone from a top 4 side to not even being competitive. How do we get back to being a top side again? Well, that's the $1 million question at the moment, isn't it, Tez? How do we get back to, up to that sort of grand final sort of status and go from there and try to win the ultimate? It's got it again, and it's the same with the AFL program. It's all got to start from the top. It has to start from the top. It's as simple as that.
Let's go right to the top, because this is what the coach had to say after the game.
In the corridor, no doubt about that. And it's funny, one of our plans was to play through the corridor a fair bit today and try and be a bit more direct with our movement. That didn't happen, but they did, and we didn't stop it. We found ourselves too wide too often and in some really awkward positions forward and behind the ball. So they were really clever. The width they play with, that's what they do. Like, it's not rocket science, that's what they do. But we just weren't able to stop it today.
I guess the inside 50 total in the end, I think it was 46-21. Yep. Makes it pretty hard.
Yeah, well, that's been a problem for us the last 2 weeks. It was 50 on Tuesday and 46 today, so it's 96 in 2 games. And you minus 20 against the Brisbane Lions and you minus 25 against the Kangaroos. Good luck trying to win that game.
Fucking oath, Daniel, mate. Fucking oath, mate. Funny. It's funny, Paolo. It's funny. It's funny, is it? It's funny. We wanted to use the corridor, but North Melbourne did, and we couldn't stop it. It's funny. It's fucking hilarious to me too.
Well, I think the Claude gif has been getting a bit of a run on the tweets. Nick Wishart and Pommy and you and I have run with the it's time to go, I think. And you know what? I was actually looking through the numbers, and I just tackles inside 50 were 18-1, and we were out tackled, but we had less of the footy. And what I don't understand is that, okay, well, your opposition are trying to stop you coming through the corridor. Okay. What's your contingency plan? What's your plan B? How are you going to get back through the corridor? How are you going to use the width of the ground if a team is flooding the corridor? What are you going to do to get around that? What's your answer? He clearly didn't have one.
Nathan summed this up perfectly, because that grab just there was David Teague. That's what that was. It was trying to use humor to react to the situation. Like, you could tell he's under pressure. And to be honest, he hasn't been under enough pressure, if you ask me. I've been a little hesitant to critique because I'm not fully immersed in the AFLW. I haven't watched it from season 1, but I have watched it the last 2 or 3. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying whatever I'm seeing from him. And I'm not buying it. And it's like, we didn't get many answers at the end of last season as to what happened. We've all heard the rumors. I know what we've heard on the ground level. Not going to reveal it here, and the way that it was spun at the end of the season with getting the picks in and winning trades when we didn't, losing the players that we did. I mean, we've got so many young players that play, and there's just a lack of leadership. We're not getting it from the players that we brought in to bring the leadership. Vesio needs to be a leader, I think, in this team. They're not being a leader right now. They're struggling with their own form. The ball's not coming in cleanly. I get that, but senior player, mentioned O'Day struggling. I don't want to hear about playing out of position, because it was a rolling mess yesterday. You could find a way to impact if you really wanted to. And I'm left wondering, like, are we serious about this women's program, or is this just something we do because it's the right thing to do? Like, are we really wanting to win games here, or what is it?
Oh, if they're fair income, it would be, but they're clearly not at the moment. Look, you know what? Like, I look back at the rumors and stuff leading into the preseason and into this season too. Like, as you said, like, we don't need to know what's going on inside. Again, you just see it on the footy field. Disconnect with tactics, disconnect with players, not knowing where blazing away and worrying when they've got, you know, ball in hand and the opposition's chasing them and they don't know where to go. If that's not trained, but the problem is it's the same issues that keep coming up week in, week out, week in, week out, you know, and if you look at the top teams in the league, they're all, it's professionalism. It's professionalism from the get-go. Adelaide, Freo, and Brisbane, the three top teams who are likely to play off in the Premier. Even Collingwood. Look at Collingwood. Collingwood, we mauled throughout their first game every time we played them in the last sort of, you know, forget the last 2 years. They beat us last year and they beat us this year. What's happened?
Correct.
How come they've gone ahead and we've regressed? What's going on?
Well, when I look at the great teams, when they win, they celebrate, but there's a difference to it. That they know that it's one win that they need to win to get to the finals. When we won our first game, I believe it was round 2. Just the celebration, like I'd love them being happy, love it. But you just look at them, and then you look at the celebration when we do kick goals when we're down 5 goals. It's an immature team. It's not a good look. And the reality is, if you want to grow this team and you want to grow the supporter base for the women's program, you don't do it without winning. That has to come first. That's how you start getting some bandwagoners and some Carlton supporters come across. And I just think they're doing a complete disservice to the supporters who actually are giving it a go and are trying to embrace it. And the last 7 days has been nothing short of a shit show, straight up.
Oh, mate, it has been. It has been. It's been too. Can you put that comment up from Wharf Radio? I think that's Peter Holden there. That's brilliant. It's spot on. Plus, add in the loss of Nicole Graves, who Peter mentioned to me a couple of days ago. Ever since she left that football manager role at the club, it's just been whoop. We've just gone downhill, really. And I just think managing girls and managing women is a completely different. It's a completely different sphere to what it would be managing a team of men. You know, there are different needs. There are different types of people. There's a different type of way you get them up for games. And I was talking to another mate as well who works in the Melbourne AFLW department. And he said too, like their sort of issue too is they're a little bit quiet when they do like drills and all that and stuff. And I think that can be a competitive edge. Just something as simple as a warm up and getting yourself geared up. And I mean, what do you say? It's just, I mean, we've been belted by North 3 times now. Every time we've played North Melbourne, I think the average loss is about 30 points, something like that. And we've only averaged 3 goals a year per game this year. And the frustrating thing is that we've lost these talls, like a tall like Taylor Harris, who's a presence in the forward line. And we continue to bomb long when we go inside forward 50 and there's no one to mark it.
No, it's enough's enough. Is
football.
someone going to call it out for what it is? Like it's you know, and then all of a sudden, straight away, the new episode of the podcast, and like it just fucking irks me, Paul. Fucking irks me, mate. Shits me up the wall. I'm going to do this again.
In the corridor, no doubt about that. And it's funny, one of our plans was to play through the corridor a fair bit today and try and be a bit more direct with our movement. That didn't happen, but they did.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Can't do it. I'm telling you.
The podcast. The podcast.
The podcast. That'll be the end of this. It'll be the end of us, mate. The podcast,
mate. And now they've named that bloody pocket. That pocket down in the Legends stand end is apparently the Jordan Allen pocket, right? And I've seen Steph Chiocci saying that I can't remember who the North player who was that kicked the goal from the pocket. She's like, oh, yeah, she kicked the goal from the Jordan Allen pocket. Like that, it's, oh, yeah. And the girls will be like, oh, yeah, it's the Jordan Allen pocket. Yeah. Like
the Princess Park, our home,
I know.
It's sacrosanct. You don't like, I feel stupid for almost saying this, but you've got to protect it. It's got to mean something. And now I start thinking in my head, oh, maybe, you know, whatever. It's just a game. And that's what I'm watching. I'm watching it. It's just a game. It's all right. We'll show up next week and give it a go again.
I reckon the AFLW program needs a little bit of a history lesson to understand what the AFL team turned that ground into, why it was the ground it was, what type of ground, and that is theirs now.
Yes,
that is theirs to upkeep. That's where they're playing all their home games. It's yours to upkeep and turn into a fortress. And if you don't want to do it, there's the door. Simple.
Kira's actually nailed this. The fact that my premiership faith has gone from the women's side to the men's side says a lot. That does say a lot, Kira. It does. It does. And I think the other part as well, Nick Wishart put a tweet up, obviously,
Yes.
one of the big leaders of the cheer squad. And after the game, obviously it's a poor loss. We know that.
Yep.
How many players do you think went up to the cheer squad to just give them a little bit of just a little bit of a sorry? How many players do you think showed up just to acknowledge the cheer squad? Who, mind you, go out of their way to put the banner up and set it up and do all this.
I did see this. She was the only one that went up, wasn't she?
One player, captain.
Horrible.
One player
Horrible.
went to the cheer squad and thanked them, and I believe that she told them to stick with us and apologize. Which it's all words, like apologize on the field, but it's just little things like that make me question care factor and what is it really all about? What's it really all about?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've gone into self-preservation mode now, and you can clearly see it. Like, all you need to see. I mean, to get blown out by 5 and 6 goals in this competition is, it's a shellacking, really, isn't it? It's a belting, And given how short the season is, it's season's done. It's finished. It's forget finals. That ain't happening. That's not happening.
It's January. We're not meant to be this angry.
No.
January.
And you summed it up beautifully, and we kept saying it sort of over the last fortnight. Is that we're 6 years into a new competition, and we're already probably going to be looking for new coaches, new players, and we're going to have to start from ground zero again, aren't we? Looking that way.
I don't know. Adelaide, and this is the other part as well that kind of frustrates me because there's this excuse of, but North are a good side. Well, Collingwood are a good side. We're going to say that about Adelaide this week when we play them. We're going to say the same thing about Melbourne when we play them, Fremantle when we play them.
I mean,
Richmond when we play. Like, just really, they need to figure it out. Honestly, like it needs to focus back in on the football.
They've got
winning games.
They've got to go look at the constitution and realise that striving for success and premierships has been whacked way right up the top, ahead of all the other things that go up on the social media and all the other things we talk about inside footy clubs that have to do with outside the footy club. It's as I said, I think the way you and especially for a lot of football fans, I mean, the football is like a release from life, right? It's a relief from all the, for lack of a better phrase, from all the crap that goes on outside in your life. You come and you meet up with mates, you meet up with families, with boyfriends, with girlfriends, or whoever else it may be. And I think, footy clubs are obviously, and sport is a chasm of what goes on in society. It's a little snippet and an insight into what's going on outside, I think, too. But I think the way you absolve that and get your fans on side and get your fans happy, win.
It's like we've forgotten why the brand has such power.
I know.
The Monogram has so much power because of what happened on the field decades in the last century. Not the other way around. You don't get to use the Monogram for your own personal benefit without putting in on the field. So I think there needs to be a reminder for that.
Yeah. And look, I know, God bless his soul, but before we move on, I mean, John Elliott even said it in one of his speeches sort of just before all the stuff happened with him. He said, that the club is always bigger than the person, and the reason that the fans have the bigger say is because if I ain't doing my job, you got the right to bloody boot me out, and so you should, because the club will always be bigger than the individual. And I think we have a lot of individuals going around at the club at the moment, and it needs to be cleaned up.
Yep. ASAP. Yep. So we'll leave it there. I had another issue to bring up, but maybe for another day. Maybe today. Maybe right now is not the time.
You can bring it up.
Well, okay, I'll bring it up.
Bring it up. Come on.
The external review, right? I found out. Right. I found out that the external review did not include the women's program.
Okay.
And that's what also made me beg the question of, well, are we one club or are we a women's program because we like to say that we have a women's program and we promote inclusivity? Why wasn't the women's program reviewed last year when we lost so many senior players and there seemed to be a lot going on? I mean,
Yeah.
We want full-time pay. We want full-time wage. We want equal opportunity, but we don't want to be criticized equally. And this is how it's going to be. Like we want people to tune in. We want people to support, but we don't want to hear the criticism.
Yes. It's
Just
spot on.
about done. Just about done, Paolo.
No, you're spot on. Well, I reckon there will be some sort of review. There may be, given the results that are occurring. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Has to be, doesn't it? After what's going on, it's that they are spiraling out of control with no. There's no end in sight with how low they can stoop with what's happening. And Adelaide this weekend. Oh God. Oh Jesus.
I've got a function. I've got a game day function that I'm going to be at. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. Can't wait to see the response.
You did ask me to come to that, and I was going to come to that, but my lovely new racehorse is going to debut on Sunday, so I'll be keeping one eye on the AFLW, and I'll be keeping another eye on my horsey on Sunday.
I'll shoot you a text when I've been booted out at halftime.
Yeah, let me know.
I might bring Mars with me.
I'll tell you, mate. If you do, there'll be no one left.
Oh gosh,
the club will be deleted.
All right, we're going to move on because
good idea.
It's not good enough, but we'll see what happens next week. Open training. We had another open training session with some new announcements as well. Don't really want to touch on, or maybe we can. I did my training report with some players that stood out for me. What about you, Paul? Who did you notice from open training? Just some things that maybe didn't get spoken about.
Yeah, I mean, look, the obvious is Curnow and Walsh. I mean, obviously they're gonna stand out. Those are just the type of players they are. But I think the two names actually the third that I added in. The first one, Lockie O'Brien. I know he's been he's been a hot topic to discuss with fans and members and people on this channel. I think they're more in the camp of him not being a bona fide senior footballer than they are with the confidence in him. But I see something I like with him, or I have seen something I like with him in the first two sessions that we've been to. I think he looks to have filled out a bit more, and he looks to have a little bit of a steely resolve about him too. And the beauty about him is that they've kept him out wide. He's a winger, and he's been able to have that width. And as I said a couple of weeks ago on the show, you got a player like that on your list with a left foot like that. If you can't utilize it, there's something wrong.
Yes. So is it when I look at him, I wonder a couple of things. Has he earned the trust of his teammates, or by extension, has it been coached into his teammates to trust him? And I wonder if we can marry the two together with a game plan that says, get it out to him. He's there. We've got to utilize him, combined with him getting himself right, getting fit, performing. I think that's where he's going to be able to actually get the best out of himself.
Yeah. Well, you said if it's him being coached into it, or if it's him earning the trust of his players, it's got to be a mixture of both, really, because if he's actually played in the right position, I know we keep using that saying, but he starts to grow in confidence, and then his football starts to blossom, and then his players are like, his teammates are like, mate, you're doing the right thing, and we want to give you the football. And I think what irked me last season as well was that, T goes, he's got to work on his contested footy, mate. Don't worry about your contested footy, Lockie, mate. When you got to go, you go. But, mate, your goal is that you keep your width, stay out there. You're the uncontested man. When it's time to go and give you the ball to run and kick, you're the man we want to you're the man we want to use when we're going inside forward 50. And the other two names that really stood out have been Jack Carroll. I think Matthew Owens is trending up.
Yes.
Like what I've seen from him.
Yes. Well, I left, it's two sessions, it's two open training sessions, but I've left the two of them as a whole thinking to myself, we're all talking about Paddy Dow being that fifth or sixth selected midfielder. I think Jack Carroll is right there pushing up, because he doesn't have the explosiveness that we all get sucked into, but he's got this footy IQ. He steps through players, he steps around players, he's got time. We're sitting with Bucky, we were marveling at how he reminded us of Pendlebury. And you got to be very careful when you say such things, because you don't want to be selling Kool-Aid. But he's just showing something at training, like he's definitely improved.
Yeah, well, I reckon he's eaten himself in the preseason as well, mate. He looks triple the size of what he was when he first came into the club, and that's a big thing too. Like the ability to be able to get from contest to contest and then use your body to actually win the football, especially in tight in that midfield too. And he's sort of got the build of the prototype midfield of the modern game. You know, the long arms, the long legs. He's quite tall for a midfielder too, and now he's put the size on. It's nice to have a left-footed midfielder too, because it just opens up a different angle for us when we come out of the middle too. So you can't underestimate those little incremental advantages that you get over opposition too. So, and I think, and we discussed it off air before we went on, that I reckon Vossi's the type of coach that'll just say, mate, I don't care if you're 19 or 20, if you're ready to go, you're ready to rock and roll, go for it.
I think so. Well, I was going to bring Pomming in a little later, but I'm going to bring him in now because we're going to talk about, we'll do it all together, all three of us, because I want to talk about the leadership group that was announced. Stand by. Pommy, in he is. G'day, mate.
The great man.
He's come. I mean, talking about AFLW before, this guy had to sit through it on a live stream, so.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, well, I'm a veteran of getting a hiding live on air, so I mean, it's no news to me. I mean, I think you touched on it. I think the problem is you hit it on the head. It's the review, and I think on a bigger picture, every time I do a live and a watch along, I have about 10 guys who come and troll Mickey Mouse football, Pom's sucking the dick of corporate football by pushing an agenda and stuff like that, like complete melt comments. But I can't understand how you can't have a review with everyone, because that just feeds into that ideology that even the football club doesn't see the women's as a problem, so they don't review it. We've got the reviewers in, but don't worry about the women's football. It's all right. We'll put a few posts up. We'll put them in a rainbow outfit. It'll be grand. Don't worry about it. Just sort the men out, because that's the real football. You saw girls out there. They didn't take it serious. And there's a reason. There's a reason they didn't take it serious, because you've got a coach laughing, man. And that is my big bugbear. I said it about Teague. Once he started laughing and using shit analogies, leaders don't use shit analogies. I use analogies all the time. I don't when I'm in manager mode, though. So there's a difference, because humour is an idiot's way out of thinking. Absolute Mickey Mouse, man. And honestly, I feel sorry for them girls, because Maddie will leave. I would. If I was as good as her, I'd piss off.
Yeah. I'm going to play a clip because we have a new leadership group announced. Very, very rare that we talk about such things and they come true. We had the three of them. It's Cripps as captain with Wiedering and Walsh as vice. I'll play a little bit of a clip from the press conference that Wiedering and Walsh did, and we'll chat some more about it.
New to the role, but will you look to lean to one of the greatest leaders the game's seen and maybe get a few pieces of his rock in?
Yeah, I think it's been a great environment so far since we've had a change of coaching group, and Vossi's added a lot to that. As you mentioned, he's a great leader, and he's got some great ideas, but so do the assistant coaches that have come along with him. So I feel like the training's been at a pretty high standard at the moment. It's for us to continue it and keep trying to earn that right to sort of come out and compete.
It was pretty physical out there this morning, a long session, but pretty physical as well. Has that been an indication of what you've been doing so far?
Yeah, it has been hard to play on Charlie for 50 minutes, which has been a change from the last couple of years. It's great to see him out on the track, but I think that's just been the aim of our pre-season so far. As Walker said, we've got to earn the right to compete, and to do that, you've got to do it out on the track. And the middies are fighting really hard, and again, we've got all new assistant coaches, so they're preaching that as well. And I think all lines are competing really well, and it's setting us.
So, I guess I'll ask you both, what was your reaction to the leadership group? Paul, we'll start with you.
Yeah, perfect. The only one that I didn't have, well, not I didn't have him in there because I didn't want him in there, but I didn't think Walsh would be elevated to vice captain this early in his career. But good on him, he deserves it. He's been a consummate professional since he's come into the club, and he's arguably probably our best player, and he's the example setter for basically everyone at the club as to how to approach your football. And I think these two guys, Wiedering and Walsh, I mean, we had Murphy and Gibbs before, but do you think that these two boys, Walsh and Wiedering, are just, You know, in that
miles
they
better.
are, aren't they? They are, aren't they? Yeah. And Cripps captain, I'm happy with. No co-captaincy anymore. Let Doc focus on football now and getting better. And one captain. That's what all the fans were. That's what the majority of fans were screaming out for, and we got it now.
Yeah, Pom, you made note of a change in tone that you would notice with Cripps in a few of the speeches he had done. He did a press conference as well. What do you think of the announcement?
Well, it was the perfect, because I nailed it, didn't I? I said it was one captain. I got my assistants. That would be my leadership group. They've got rid of the leadership group, so now we don't have anyone who's a Mickey Mouse leader. They're all leaders. Do you know what I mean? You've got 3 bosses, and the rest of you have a collective responsibility. Messaging totally changed for me, totally changed. And I thought it was telling in that interview. Some people will take it as it's a change in the last 2 years to play with Kerno. I took it as the intensity. Straight away, he said it's been a different from last 2 years. And that was something that was noticeable at training. It was intense. It was hard. There was physical tackles. And I think the 3 guys in question, for me as leaders, I trust, because we haven't got any old guys who have hung on. We haven't got old guys who are there probably because no one's surpassed them. These 3 guys empathise, fighting in the hardest times. So for me, these 3 perfect leaders, and now they've got a leadership group of 35 guys as well. That's the leadership group. That's how a club should be. 3 leaders, rest of you are equal.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of the first examples we have where we've been told something. What I mean by that is when Brian Cook came in, he spoke about too many subcommittees. Let's condense it a little bit. And now we're actually seeing it happen. I think I saw on my Facebook, I got a notification yesterday, I think it was the On This Day post. And I had shared a Carlton Football Club post. I think it was 2014, the leadership group. There were 7 of them. There were 7 of them there in the photo. And you look at what's happened since, and I think, less is more in many respects. And I think this is because for many of them and for many of us feel that like if it wasn't go time last year, it's absolutely go time now. Like it's that turning of the page and going from a group of boys to a group of men. And I'm, liking what I'm seeing so far. And it all really depends on what happens round 1. I know that, but good signs. There's no fluff. I don't hear any fluff.
Yeah, it's a big thing as well. And we even said it when Chera signed it at the club as well. There hasn't been the whole hoo-ha about him in the preseason. And, it wasn't like the Williams sort of signing that, he's going to turn us into something absolutely amazing. It's Chera's come. He's on whatever he's on. We've given up whatever we've given up for him. And there's no, Chera's going to turn us into a premiership winning team or anything like that. So, and you mentioned it too, Pommy, as well, like the training. I mean, look, what do we really take out of it? I think for me, like there seemed to be a purpose when they were out there. Like there was a mission that like there were certain things that they had to achieve going out there too. And I like the fact that they had to do 3 flat minutes of running after their 20-minute match sim to end their training session, which was lovely to see the boys get belted.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because usually when you see that run as well at the end of training, the warm down, they're chatting, they're talking about where they're having a beer. All the guys, I'm happy to report, could hardly talk. They were too haggard to have these inane conversations, which really, my argument is if you don't train hard and you think these guys will go out and tackle hard and chase hard, you're mental. If they don't learn to do it, they're never going to do it out there. That whole take 10% off in training so you don't get hurt, then give it in the game day. If it isn't routine to you in training, it ain't going to be routine to you in the ground. So I really enjoyed it. But my biggest takeout of the whole thing was if you go back to when Doc was the joint captain, they announced it as a spread of the pressure. And that was also why they had a big leadership group, because it represented each cornerstone of our dressing room. And I always thought that announcement was interesting because, one, there is no pressure playing professional sport. It's fictitious. There is no such thing as pressure because if you win, there is no pressure. 2017 Richmond, they didn't feel pressure. They kept winning. Pressure comes when you're bad at your job. That's where pressure builds, when you don't do it. So for me, that was a clear indication. Cripps wasn't ready. Doc wasn't ready. Jesus, we've got no leaders in the dressing room, so let's make half the list ready. That to me now says Voss trusts 3 blokes. He also trusts the group. And that is where pressure just goes away, because these boys now can handle it. They handle it as a group. Before it was 10 blokes handled the pressure. They had to face the media. Now they all do. Love it.
Yeah. And I think the fact as well is that you look at Vossi, he's at the helm, and you look and you trickle down, like no one's better than him, if that makes sense. Like there's no, what's T talking about it? I mean, the respect is there as soon as he walks through the door as well. So, and results will determine, the reaction too. But, I don't think anyone's going to be not answering back, but, I think his word will be, if you do this, you will win games of football, period.
I think an extension of that notion with Voss, and I know that it might be a bit shallow to think this way, but I think there is something in the fact that the Carlton Football Club it's a lot of ego around the place. A lot of ego. We're so good. 16 premierships, champions, sticks, Kernahan walking around the place. Greg Williams there as well. Michael Voss can safely look anyone at the club who's played and won a premiership for the club in the eye and say that he's achieved just as much, if not more. And I think there's something to that. And we spoke about it before the coach was announced. The reality of the Carlton Football Club is, if you're going to coach the team, you've got to have some sort of backing behind you. And it might be a bit of an ego thing, but it's a reality. Yeah. Because one thing I've noticed with the last 2 coaches is when the going gets tough, the players, I would assume the players, starts to trickle in like, what is he really good enough? Does he really know what it's all about? Has he really done it in his life? We talk about our assistant coaches. They didn't come from premiership success. We need to get premiership success into the door. That question cannot be raised now with Vossi, which is great.
And I think he's got that, not that ego, but he's been there and done it, and he's got that stature in the game as well. But what I really liked, and not that this is off topic, but the first 2 open sessions, he's been humble enough to grab a microphone, get in front of the fans, however many hundreds of us there were there, and say, this is the purpose of training today. This is what we're trying to set out to achieve. Thank you for coming. I mean, when have you seen that? Never.
Yeah.
Never. Not since the social club back in the 80s and 90s and 70s when you'd go, the fans would go and meet and greet with the players and coaches and talk to them after the game. It's never I've never seen that happen. Yeah. At an open training session.
It is the little things. We're just talking about the women, how only Karen Harrington came up after the game. The men at training, we got the address before training. Pom, we got the address or the thank yous after training. Those little things go a long way.
Well, I thought the littlest thing that has not been commented on was where the line coaches stayed. Now, if you go back and watch our Collingwood review that we did 2 years ago now, God, it feels like a lifetime ago, the line coaches were sat behind you and me, Tez. If you remember, the line coaches were stood on the touchline this game, in between their individual lines. Every break of play, they were giving permanent feedback. There was discussions going on with the groups, players coming off the ground, being interchanged and getting direct feedback. Total different training, because before they were all sat behind us and David Teague was probably regaling them with tales that he kicked the last goal at freaking Icon Park. All right, you know what I mean? But this time, they're actually doing their job. It didn't feel like I was coming to watch, and this is my big takeout for those who weren't there. Every time I've gone to a Carlton training session, it's like I've gone and been invited to watch my mates have a kickabout. This time, I felt like I was observing people at work. I felt like I wanted to stay quiet. I didn't want to make a noise. I wanted to let them concentrate. Usually, I want to have 6 beers and have a chat. I felt a lot more invested, that I needed to give them respect because they were in business mode. And that is going to win you games. Win you games, that is, because that's preparation down to a T. Not, oh, great, we're having a bit of a training session. Oh, Charlie, you look all right. Yeah. Oh, Jacob, you look all right. Actually training as if we're playing round 1 next week.
Yeah. And I think... And when we were with Bucky, Tez, he sort of said something that really irked me, and it was a little thing. He said, mate, doesn't look like they're trying to make the enthusiastic things happen. They're not trying to get up and about. They're just head down, bum up. If something happens, let's go again. It was, it was not that, we're down in the dumps, we've got to try to lift ourselves. It was, this is it. This is what we're doing. this is what we set out to achieve, and away we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the last note on this will be one of the quotes that Cripps mentioned was about how he's going to be back to his aggressiveness in the contest. It's just music to the ears. It really is.
Gotta fire up.
It's just none of this losing weight to become a runner and an outside player and go forward and kick 40 goals. He's Patrick Cripps.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to be anything other than Patrick Cripps.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really excited about that.
Well, Pommy, we always discuss this as well. It's like, well, if a player has a certain strength and he's one of the best in the competition at it, or that's his best attribute, but his weakness is he can't defend, or his outside game is not as good. Well, find something within your coaching ranks, or someone within your coaching ranks, or something within yourself as a coach to mitigate their deficiencies, but amplify their strengths. I mean, isn't that the art of coaching? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? This is what's irked me about O'Brien. Everyone goes, he can't defend, or he's not hard enough. Go look at the way he kicks the ball. It's football, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you say that, but in the 10 years that I've supported this beloved club with you, my definition of what I think coaching is has changed differently. But if you ask 10-year-old Pom, that would be the premise. Yeah, I mean, it's little things like David Teague, like you called it earlier, David Teague saying about Lockie O'Brien, he's out of the team because he needs to work on his contested possession. And then you look at Carl Amon, who, in my opinion, is the best winger in the competition. He thinks a contested possession is a meal deal at Hungry Jack's. Like, he hasn't got a Scooby-Doo what it is, because he's a winger. He gives them width, which then gives them spread from the contest, which gives them an outlet. And he just does his thing. But you know what? He would never go near a contest. He probably looks at a contest and goes, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing? Just run. So exactly like you say, and I've got to say, Patrick Cripps was moving like an otter downstream. It was smooth, mate. It was smooth. He got me a little bit excited, did Cripper. He looked good.
What was it like seeing Charlie in person, Pom?
Well, I've not harassed my wife for 4 days. Let's put it that way. Do what you want with that one.
Oh, dear,
it's nice to see him running and jumping without any worry, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a moment where Mitch McGovern was on him and he landed knee first on the inside of his knee. And I was kind of like, And then just Charlie gets up and taps him on the back. And I'm like, oh, Charlie's all right. He's good. He's good. He's all right.
Can I, just before, I think there was one thing that I want to hear from you. Like, I looked at our back line and I thought to myself, are we a little bit short, as in with regards to an actual height point? Because after Wiedering, it's sort of just like, I mean, Lewis Young he didn't look ready to really take on the Jones role, did he? That could be a concern. I know McGovern's going to be down there clearly, but trying to fill the Jones void is going to be an interesting one.
What I got out of that is I thought Oscar, and I know Oscar's Tez's new boy now. They're like besties. It's this Charlie. Honestly, I had a week of him filling me full. Oscar is the best key defender to take the role. And then I saw it. He's spot on, because I thought what I saw now is Jones' role is a proper role. And that is the third defender does the Jones role, which honestly, that was my best moment of training. That now we have a defender who stays at home and does nothing, right? Just stays on his man, which is Oscar. Waitering a bit more versatile. And then the third guy is your Alia, the guy who takes the game on because he's coming from a position that's not getting in Jacob's way. If you watch Oscar and Jacob work together, one's shepherding, one's going for it. It's not like before, Jones and Waitering going. And then suddenly from the side, Kemp came, and I was really impressed. I think Kemp is going to put a bit of pressure on Plowman, particularly when Stocker comes back. He was playing that more defensive one-on-one role on the small guy. I could see Kemp being that third, and I'm really excited about that, because I thought Kemp was absolutely brilliant. His attack on the footy, his endeavour, it's a different vibe to Plowman. So it's going to be interesting that. I thought the back line is Voss's issue, because there's about 8 guys who played well. God knows how you get 6 into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this will be the first time Kemp has a full preseason. Touch wood.
It's touch wood. It is the end of January. It's not a it's not a bad injury list for us considering what we've had.
Oh God.
Don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said that.
Why is someone put a post on Bound by Blue the other day saying this is the least injuries Carlton have ever had for the last decade? And I'm like, well done, dickhead. Well done.
Look, it's a testament to their preparation. Maybe we're getting a little bit of good luck, and that's the reality. You need a bit of good luck.
You do,
especially at this time of year. You need to get as many guys through a full preseason as possible, which is easier said than done. So we've got, I believe it's 22 days, guys, 23 days until we play our first preseason match.
Yeah, I think it's scheduled for, I believe it'll either be the 23rd, 24th, or the 25th of Feb. That block of days, yeah, potentially Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of that. It'll be against St Kilda at Icon Park. And then we've got our first official preseason game against Melbourne on Friday night. Is it March the 3rd or 4th, I think?
That's right.
Yeah.
So actually, that reminds me, kind of off topic, on the 22nd of February, if you're a member of the club and you don't check your emails, I will remind you that we all got an email about the AGM, the annual general meeting, where you go in. There would be a virtual event. I'll just read this out here. So we got the email saying that in response to the ongoing developments with COVID, and in addition to the club's current Icon Park redevelopment with no appropriate space available to hold in person at the club, and in accordance with the Corporations Act, the AGM will be held using virtual technology. There will not be a physical venue for members to attend. Members can participate in the AGM and watch the webcast online using their computer or mobile device by clicking the link below, and they've given the link. So please don't get this confused with an EGM. An EGM, that's come and gone. That won't be happening. This is the AGM that all corporations must have for their stakeholders. So the constitutional amendments will be in there. So just to be sure that we're all clear that we've got plenty of time to read through. And if you have any issues, to bring them up. And this isn't being sprung up on us. 22nd of February is the AGM.
Yep, correct. And as you said, it'll be virtual, so everyone can get in. You don't have to miss it. You can be on your couch and log in and have a watch and see what's going on in the depths of the football club.
Yes. Paulo, I'm going to pull you out for a moment.
Yep.
Because Pom and I have some business to take care of. But good to chat to you as always.
Indeed, gents. It's a pleasure as usual, and we will do it all again very, very soon. So hopefully we answered as many questions as we could, and I'm hoping that I'll be commentating the Carlton St Kilda preseason match. So provided all things go ahead and everything's okay, I should be calling the game for the club. So that'll be good fun. But looking forward to doing it all again very soon, gents.
Amazing. Before you go, one more thing. What's the name of the horse? When's it racing? Can we watch? Can we get on? What's the go?
Yes. She will be racing. Her name is Darcy's Debut. She's a 3-year-old filly. She'll be racing this Sunday, provided all things go well. She'll be racing at Ararat in the first race. So keep an eye. Ararat race 1 is when she'll be racing. So hopefully we can collect the bacon and bring home a bit of cashola.
Fingers crossed. Good luck, mate. Thanks, Paulo.
Enjoy, boys. Have a good night.
See ya.
See you, mate.
All right. Pommy. Hey, mate.
What have I done? I feel like I'm in trouble. I feel like I've been called into Dad's office.
No, we wanted to have a conversation. You brought up a really interesting point today. I think it's off topic in the sense that the incident happened outside of the AFL, but I think it's something to be wary of moving forward. And you raised it with me today, so I'll let you take the floor and we'll have a chat about it today.
Well, I think someone like me, I feel like I've got a lot in common with the fan base in the terms of that. I don't really buy into the political agenda. And I think I judge everyone on myself. So I think because I think like this and I don't really discriminate and I love everyone, everyone's like that. So why are you teaching me new things? But in the UK, one of my teams, Mason Greenwood, has had a huge indiscretion, one that makes Jordan De Goey look like he's just joined an orphanage, really, as a chief carer. And I was actually alarmed because, like Carlton Football Club, Manchester United is my home. It's where I feel like it's my family. It's where I go when I'm upset. and I feel like I've got a fan base, and I feel like the family at times. And to see the feedback of fans justifying rape, domestic abuse, in the terms of, I've had some of the top balmy comments about it, like, how could he have raped her? Last week he bought her a birthday present. She's probably making it up. How do we know she hasn't had some makeup done to look like her face is bleeding? And it got me thinking, because I've actually wrote a club to say that I'm going to cancel my overseas membership with them if he's not fired, because it alarmed me to see how my own friends, some of these guys commenting were my mates, guys that I've drunk with and shared bread with, to see them defend the player and say things like, oh, poor Mason Greenwood, he had his career ahead of him, he's ruined it. When he's ruined someone's life, worries me. And it got me starting to think about pride and not getting political, how sometimes we see these things as political, but they're not. They're trying to teach us a social moral to make us aware of it so we don't act like that. And to actually see that my own mates and my own fans brush it off like she could be lying when the evidence is unsurmountable, really. It actually broke my heart to see how stupid we can be sometimes and blindsided against what's right. And I hope it never happens here, but I went and looked at Jordan De Goey. The same things happened. Do you know what I mean? The fan base getting behind him and saying, women do that. It's another woman lie. He's a good guy. It worries me because we're a better club than that. And I hope Carlton fans are a better club, but be wary about that tomorrow. To me, I think, be wary about how we come across, because we can be blinded sometimes by, oh my God, no politics. And by doing that, we sometimes miss the bigger issue of what we're trying to discuss.
Yeah, I think you raise a good point, and that is something that I'm really proud about our club, in the way that we educate our people, our staff, our players, and whatnot. And I know that at times it can seem like we're moving away from the football and we don't care about the football. But at the end of the day, under any circumstance, what happened with Greenwood and what's happening in that space right now, and De Goey and whatnot, that is just not something that we can have here at our club as well. And rather than react to a situation that happens down the track, it's good to have the discussion proactively. Hopefully it never happens with any of our players or any of our staff members or anything like that. But I think this is why the league and these big clubs with big platforms need to use them for the right reasons.
I think what's even more alarming is we get a lot of our information. You see, COVID is a great example. From the media, we trust the media. We've been brought up to believe. I remember being a kid. Dan, you're 13 now. Sit with me, watch the 6 o'clock news after school and learn what's going on in the world. Open your mind, son. Open your mind. And watching how the media has reacted worldwide as well. One of the articles really infuriated me, and I'd love to share this with you because I had an epiphany. And I said to Terry, I'm not a guy to say I was wrong, but I've actually called a good friend of mine who protests against men and our duty in rape culture. And I've said to her, rape culture doesn't exist. You're mental. Do you know what I mean? Stop trying to label men as rapists because, yeah, there's a few bad eggs, but most of us aren't. I had to ring her and say, I sincerely apologize. I was wrong because what I've witnessed, I understand now where you're coming from. I was blind because I don't do it. And evidently there's people out there who do it. But the media releasing articles like in the last 12 months, maybe we need to educate young players because this is the second case. And it got me thinking that this isn't the second case. This has probably been going on for 100 years. And what's happened before social media? This would have happened to a young lady. She would have gone to the papers. The papers would have called the football club. Manchester United, being a big, big conglomerate, would have paid her off and paid the journalist off not to write it. And then tomorrow, it would have been gone. Now, this lady here, the wonderful lady, had the opportunity to reveal it because there was nowhere else for her to go. And looking at how social media has reacted to evidence from her dad, her and her family, and the fact that the club has turned their back on him, says a lot to me, because if that was just in the paper, God knows what people would have said. So for me, I understand what that means now as a man, that I need to call my mates out for saying, nah, it wouldn't happen, mate. Wouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? She's making it up. They all do it, don't they? He's a celebrity. He probably upset her and she's gone a bit too far. That's my worry. That's my worry, that people are thinking sympathise with him. But this young Harriet, she's only a young girl. Imagine, I think of my kids. Imagine what would happen if this is them. They might never experience love because they'll never trust again. Imagine someone you love breaking you like that. That's going to cause long term, and that makes my heart bleed. And that's why I was wrong. Do you know what I mean? I was wrong to say I don't need educating, because I was part of the problem by telling my mates, nah, it doesn't exist, mate. Don't exist, because I don't rape. No one rapes. And the problem is there's some dickheads out there, of men and women. There's some real dickheads. So I'm going to make a pact now. I am going to say to my mates, mate, think about it. As I said to one of my mates today, he's got a beautiful sister, and we used to chase her when we were young men because she was a very good-looking girl. I was like, imagine if I'd done that to your sister. Would you be going on social media and saying Pom's a good guy? You'd kill me. And I was like, and rightly so. Rightly so. You should hate me. You shouldn't defend me. And he said he never thought of it like that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's realization comes in their own space. So it's good that we have these conversations here, and I do want to also reiterate the point of this is why we as a league, and more specifically as our club does. This is why we have these issues come to light. This is why we represent. This is why we wear the orange socks. This is why we have the Pride Guernsey. This is why we do it, because education is important, and it starts with visibility, as we've learnt. The Pride Week, I spoke with Beck Hurft last week about that. That's because, very much like you, Pom, I'm aware of how uneducated I am in certain areas, and I'm just curious by design. I just am like that. I love to have a conversation about something which I have no idea about, and I think if we can continue to have that mentality of not necessarily what side of the coin you believe in, but more so of, are you willing to listen to the other side and let the conversation happen? I think that's all we can really do here on this platform.
Yeah, and I think Hannah Jinks here. Now, I've had some great conversations with Hannah Jinks, and he's saying it's an emotionalism from the left. Now, I think rape culture does exist. Now, I'll give you some evidence, right? Because I've thought about it. I've had my mates before read conversations like the John DeGoey thing, and they've instinctively said, in a group with women at a table, nah, it's just a chick trying to make quick money because they know they'll pay him off 50K. To someone who's uneducated, like my kid asked, will he go to prison, Daddy? And I was like, of course he will if he's guilty. That's what happens to bad people. And he goes, oh, but he's got a lot of money, hasn't he? And you said money can sometimes get you out of trouble. And I was like, yeah, I have said that. You're right. I've been open with you. That rules are different for each other. But there is how you do breed a rape culture. People think rape culture, like me naively, oh, people are encouraged to rape. No, it's a breeding ground where some stupid person will take what you've said and run with it. Do you know what I mean? And that is what I've learned from being in the Manchester United forums. There is some stupid people who don't think objectively that they will validate what they're doing because of the situation. It's like, at the moment, the media saying he comes from a single parent background in a poor area. That's offensive to me because I came from a adopted background in a social housing education system where we were poor. Now, I've never raped someone. I've never abused a woman. But to say that that's an excuse and that's okay to do because the chances are, because I didn't have a lot of money growing up, I might do it, is mind-blowing to me. And that's what we've got to be wary of. People, I was like Hannah. I used to think, hang about, I didn't rape anyone, and get defensive. And I realize it's not about raping someone. It's about making sure your friendship group, the people you're around, share your same ideology. Do you know what I mean? And calling it out when they make a joke of, oh, she looks a bit of all right. She's up for it, isn't she? And saying, mate, she's probably not up for it. Do you know what I mean? Go and talk to her like a human being. And it works both ways for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to call that out because I've got a young girl that I look after. If I don't call it out, do you know what I mean? I'm a clown. So that's my learnings. Uncle Pom learned something this week.
It's good. No, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you called me about it, and I'm glad we've chatted about it here. And it's something that'll come up later on in the year as well. We've got a Carlton Respects game. I believe it's actually this Sunday, and then we have it again with the men's season. And it is important to have the conversations. We have for the most part, especially on YouTube, it's a younger audience, and there is a responsibility to have, whether you're young or old. I think as soon as you feel like you know everything, that's when it goes downhill for you.
I think I'm like everyone. I get defensive sometimes because I'm like, I would never harm anyone. So when someone starts preaching to me, I'm like, I wouldn't do it. But I realize that I'm not everyone. There is some people out there, and looking at some of my friendship group, they're stupid. Do you know what I mean? They're buying into the agenda that he's rich, she's poor, she's trying to make something of it. And they're thinking because it's happened maybe once, it might happen all the time. And seeing that upsets me because I like these guys, but I'm like, that's not what we're about, man. Like, and I know their families, I know their mums, I know their sisters. I grew up with them, and I'm like, if the shoe was on the other foot and it was someone, you'd be ringing me and saying, get on the plane now, bring a baseball bat, we're sorting this guy out. You wouldn't be saying, oh, my sister might have gone to a joke shop and got a blood capsule. You wouldn't say it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's okay thinking Pom's being politically correct. Watch my lives. I am the least political correct human being ever. It's not about that, but it's about being... I think Benji taught me something today. Benji and Ella. And I just want people to feel safe in my company and at the football with me because you guys are my family. So everyone in this chat, whether you love me or hate me, you've influenced me in a way. And I think if I've ever done something to make you feel uncomfortable, I want to be called out for it. I don't want you just to go, oh, it's Pom, it's what he does. I want you to PM me and say, this made me feel uncomfortable because I will change it. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. And that's what pride is. That's what respects is. It isn't indoctrination. All it is create a bit of awareness. And some people are stupid. They don't know about it. And my mates, a case in point, they don't know about it. They don't know saying she deserved it or she's making it up, how offensive that is. They just see it as a comment they'd say down the pub. And they don't see that some young kid might see that and go, oh, I'll just punch a woman and say she's making it up.
It's a good chat. It's a good way to end the show. A serious way, but an important way nonetheless. So I appreciate you bringing it up, mate. And I think we'll leave it there for now. We have a very big week ahead, and you and I are going to chat about the train-on players because people are asking about them as well. So we will bring that up throughout the week, and then we're also going to do something about we spoke last week about the tiers on our list. So you and I are going to rate the list as well. So for those at home, stay tuned for that. We're going to actually have a look at the list and rank the players based on the tier system that we spoke about. So Pommy, good night to you. Thanks for coming on and speaking your heart. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.